was by so fast. Got a foot down on the gas. I've been longing for the past. The hands on the clock.
I'm your host, Noah Slavin, and I'm very excited and honored to announce our awesome panelists for this evening. Please clap it up for Wayne Holtz, Troy Peters, Alyson Alonzo, Keanu Bicol, and Diego Chavez. And we have Christine Hill here tonight from Arts and Culture, who's going to share a little bit more about their artist registry program and the local music spotlight program and how you can become a part of it. Christine?
Thanks, Noah. Thanks, everybody. Hi, as Noah said, my name is Christine Hill. I'm the Film and Music Liaison for the Department of Arts and Culture for the City of San Antonio. I'm joined tonight, some of y'all may have seen them out in the lobby, with a couple of my fantastic colleagues, Kim LeBlanc and Christophe Michaud, and we represent the marketing, film, and music team for the department. And we want to thank you for all being here and welcome you, and thank our wonderful partners with TPR for hosting this incredible Music Business Artist Forum tonight. We're excited to be here, and what an incredible lineup of panelists. We're so excited for the discussion this evening. I promise not to take too much of your time, but wanted to take the opportunity to tell you about a few of our services our department offers to San Antonio musicians. First of which is the department's Artist Registry, which, simply put, is like an electronic press kit for you and your band, and free to use. It's a visually dynamic and a searchable database hosted on our website, where you can upload photos, bios, links to your website, Bandcamp, or social media. And you can also add and embed music videos if you have those as an artist. You'll also find that you can list yourself in multiple genres and disciplines. So if you're creative working in multiple spaces, this profile will not box you in. The Artist Registry is a platform for you to showcase all your talents, and one that our wonderful arts and culture marketing team promotes as a resource for people who are looking to hire local musicians or artists of any type. It's also the first step to It's also the first step to applying to both of the other services I'll be mentioning. So we urge you to create a listing now, or if you already have one, make sure it's up to date with your most recent news. Another program I want to mention, and y'all may have seen the slides outside, is our local music spotlight program. This updated program is meant to highlight San Antonio's diverse music scene. San Antonio-based musicians and bands may submit up to 2 of their original songs or compositions for consideration during each application window, with selected songs being awarded a $250 honorarium. What are we looking for? We're looking for original compositions, and we love upbeat songs, even rocking songs. Nothing gives me more joy than when we get to start a city council session with a real headbanger. So please. Songs with positive messages are a plus, but mostly keep in mind that submissions should not contain profanity or any sort of discriminatory language. We are a city department, so I think that that's fairly...
That's all my music.
We'll consider an instrumental, Noah. No. Speaking of which, we do consider songs in other languages other than English, instrumental songs. All of these kinds of songs are welcome. So, again, we highly encourage you to submit your songs if you are a local musician that writes original songs. Just kind of skip ahead because I'm the boring part of the evening. This application window is open through January 2nd. So if you grabbed a QR code in the lobby, it'll take you to our link tree. It's clearly on there. It's also on our website, which is sanantonio.gov/music. So fairly easy to remember. Final shout out this evening, and this is the last one, is that our Department of Arts and Culture artist grants are going to be opening in very early 2024, like very, very early 2024. We don't have a date to announce when that will specifically open, so I won't give you a date, but very early in 2024. So please keep your eyes out. These grants are open to artists of all genres, and definitely musicians included. In the past, sometimes musicians have been underrepresented because they think that these grants are just for perhaps a painter or sculptor. But if you are any form of artist, this grant is for you, and we encourage you to keep your eyes peeled, apply, and reach out to us with any questions. So again, grab a QR code, check out our website, follow us on social at Get Creative SA. If you have any questions, please find me or one of my colleagues. Will be happy to help. And with that, I will pass the boring part off to Mr. Noah Slavin, our wonderful moderator. I hope y'all enjoy the conversation this evening. I know I will.
Give it up nice and loud for Christine Hill. Love you guys at Arts and Culture. So last time we had a music business forum, we talked all things like logistics about copyright and entertainment law and obtaining royalties and all that kind of stuff. That's not going to happen today. Today is going to be more of a perspective of our local musicians and music educators and how they make it in the music industry. And if we'll be taking audience questions too. So if in the middle, if you have a question and you really need to get it out, just raise your hand. I think there's a mic, or you can come to me and you can take my mic. All right, so we're gonna kick things off real quick by having the panel introduce themselves and kind of just talk a little bit about their music career and what they're up to lately. So, Keanu, you want to give it a go?
For sure. Hello, my name is Keanu Bicol. I'm a musician from San Antonio. I am the lead singer of Anoha, and I also make solo music. I'm under Keanu Bicol on Spotify and all streaming platforms. My most popular song is I Won't Run, which has 26 million streams and growing more and more each day. And some recent updates. Me and my band have been recording a new album that is going to be coming out hopefully next year in the first half. And that's pretty much all that's up with me at the moment.
Troy?
So I'm Troy Peters. I am a conductor and composer. I'm the conductor of Youth Orchestras of San Antonio, music director of YOSA, and I'm also the conductor of the orchestra at UTSA, and then I guest conduct and work with other orchestras. And over the last 20 years or so, I've kind of developed a habit of working with musicians outside the classical world, in addition to, I do all the normal dead white guy stuff in classical music. And I even play other music too, but I'm really, really interested in like how we collaborate across boundaries. I've done a bunch of different projects. In San Antonio, the thing that is how I met a lot of the people in this room is full of people who've been a part of this journey, is that starting in 2015, YOSA produced a series called Classic Albums Live, where we did OK Computer and Purple Rain and Hotel California and lots of classic albums, but with lots of different local artists. So each song performed by people like Alyson Alonzo and lots of other folks in this room. Since COVID, that series has transformed a little bit into shows where we have fewer bands on stage, but we're starting to get more comfortable with the idea of having more bands on stage again in the future. The other thing I'd say is I'm really interested in a lot that has led to lots of other local collaborations. So most recently, I worked with Azul Barrientos in May on a great set of concerts with the San Antonio Philharmonic. On December 16th, I'll be conducting the San Antonio Philharmonic in a folklorico nutcracker concert that will also include Buttercup. I don't quite know how we got to that, but it's all over the map, and we're gonna have Sleigh Ride and Buttercup and folklorico nutcracker all in one show. And so like I'm always looking for ways to pull in different kinds of music into what we do. I think most listeners don't think about genre very much, so I think we should do that too.
Alyson?
Hello. My name is Alyson Alonzo. I am from San Antonio, born and raised. I've been active in the music scene since 2009. I want to say I started out before that in 2007 producing music on MySpace. And I know, throwback. And so, I started putting my music on MySpace, and then people were like, join my band. And so I joined some bands, and I was in a lot of bands. More recently, Sugar Skulls, but we haven't been a band for a few years. I've been doing music solo. I am still active and gigging. I have a gig tonight hosting karaoke after this. I am always working. I continue to work and gig, and I have never stopped since I started. Let me think. Right, currently, I am also the host of Queer Vibes, and we are on every Tuesday from 10 to 11 p.m., and it is the only station on FM radio that gives a platform to LGBTQ plus recording artists. And come talk to me if you're an LGBTQ plus recording artist. Get your music on the radio. That's me. Yeah.
Wayne?
Hey everyone, I'm Wayne Holtz. I'm one of the ancient gays of San Antonio, and I have been putting out art in a professional sense for the last decade. Most people know me for my music and live performances, and I'm currently working on my next album entitled We, spelled W3. I'm also going to be doing a big band full version of my catalog of music next Saturday at Brick with the help of Mr. Pidge. So if you're around, come through for that.
Shout out.
Will be lovely. I also, listen, I do everything under the sun when it comes to artistry, and one of my favorite things I'm doing right now is my podcast, the Wayne Holtz podcast, where I've had on guests like Perez Hilton, Ross Matthews, JD Sampson from La Tigre, and I'm about to have on a very popular drag queen and the creator of an iconic television show. So keep your ears out for that, the Wayne Holtz podcast.
Diego?
Hello. It's hard to follow your amazing voice. No, thank you. I'm Diego Chavez. I make electronic music under a solo name, Ether, and then also as a band, AM Architect. We're about to release an album coming up this new year. I do audiovisual work. I've been integrating generative visuals with Touch Designer, and then also machine learning. So I've been diving really deep into that over the last couple years. Been making music since the MySpace days, probably 2007, 2005. Really started putting out my music around 2008. Instrumental electronic is usually my forte, but I'm excited to release some new music with some vocalists. But I'm very excited to be here. Thank you, guys.
And thank you for your incredible performance. That was awesome. All right, so we're going to get right into it. Is San Antonio an easy place for musicians to make a living? And if not, how do we get there?
I think it's definitely possible. I didn't have a clock-in job from 2016 until after COVID, which was 2021, and all of the money I made and resources that I came across were from performing, hosting events, and making music and selling music. So it's definitely possible in a sense of what you're open to mentally and the hard work that you put in.
Okay, whoever picks up the mic has to go.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off that. If you're willing to put the work in, it is an easy place to do it. If you are willing to grind and work hard and just book the gigs, perform the gigs, and network and get to know more people and just put yourself out there, I believe that it is. We've gotten a lot of flack for not being a great city to do music in, and there have even people really salty people writing articles about how terrible the music scene in San Antonio is. But I don't think it's terrible. If I can come up in the music scene in San Antonio, anybody can come up in the music scene in San Antonio as long as you're willing to put the work in. It's just a matter of work ethic.
Yeah, and definitely to expand on that. Also, we're in a time where it's like there's I don't really personally what do you call it? It's sorry, for scenes and stuff like that. Like it's kind of like there's so much technology and stuff around, like TikTok Reels and so much like video sharing platforms, picture sharing platforms that you don't even some people don't even know where you're from when you're releasing music and stuff. So I think if you take advantage of that, definitely, it's definitely, I think, something to really think about.
Definitely utilize the internet. Please promote yourself online, and just take advantage of the fact that now anybody can get seen. And for sure, if we have the internet. It's not a situation where you like the Spice Girls had to live with their manager for 2 years before they got signed. It's not like that anymore. You can make your music, you can post it, you can use different distribution websites to throw your stuff online, and just utilize the internet and utilize that as a big networking platform to get yourself out there.
So we all know the basics of marketing, creating social media accounts for your band pages, posting flyers for shows, uploading music to major streaming platforms, but is there something unique and individual to you on how you approach marketing, and what kind of strategies work best for y'all?
I definitely think just you even speaking the word unique, Noah, is important. Really showing people what's important about you and what's different about you is really special. And not being afraid to show those aspects of yourself, because people want to latch onto and enjoy things that they don't normally encounter. And so really presenting all those parts of yourself that maybe you kind of keep a little bit tied in, don't be afraid of it and let it shine.
Yeah, definitely being vulnerable the same way that we are as musicians. Being vulnerable as a content creator and as a producer, like having that personal connection is definitely important, you know, to, I think, market and all that stuff.
So Instagram versus Facebook versus TikTok, what is king?
Probably TikTok at the moment, you know, everyone's on it. Everyone's attention spans have gotten worse. I sometimes, like even now, like sometimes I'll watch like a 15-second like video and I'm like, oh my god, this is too long. You know what I'm saying? But definitely TikTok. But that doesn't mean, you know, to only just limit yourself to one platform. You know, like MySpace, for example. You know, back at that time, you know, bands got popular off of those platforms. So it's important to, you know, spread yourself and, you know, put your content everywhere because someone might see it.
So Keanu, just real quick, you've done really well on TikTok. What's your formula? How did you crack the code?
Well, I will say first, there's no really a formula. I guess you could say it's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of finding your audience. For example, like I used to be like, how many people even here like use TikTok, Instagram Reels? You know, just raise your hands. I want to see. Okay, it's a pretty good amount of people. I used to be not like y'all, right? I was like, I will never use TikTok. I will never use Instagram. I will never use any of that stuff. And but I opened myself to the possibility, and I was like, let me try this real quick. Let me see. And I started off doing covers, and I didn't have like a bunch of fancy equipment. All I had was, you know, my phone. This is a Samsung S9. I think there's like, it's at S23 right now. So, but I just recorded myself and my ukulele, and I just sang covers of songs that I really liked. And eventually, one of them got traction, and I was like, "Wow!" I got like 7,000 followers in like one day. And I was like, "Okay, let me try promoting my music through this." And eventually, after a bunch of posting, and again, it's a bunch of posting, a bunch of consistency while also maintaining quality, I was able to get, you know, that one viral video that kind of went off, and, you know, it reached millions of people, and like there were people using it, people were dancing to it, you know, a bunch of stuff happened, you know, just because of consistency, trial and error, and that's I guess, you know, that's pretty much the formula for me.
So, you know, a lot of times I see when bands are promoting a show, they'll just post a picture of themselves versus creating a flyer. What do you think is more effective? A really beautiful flyer or, you know, a glamour shot of yourself? And that's open to anyone.
You definitely need a flyer with all of the information about your show. You need the who, the what, the where, the when. And so I would definitely say just a mixture of both. A really beautiful picture of yourself with all the information. And there you go. That's the flyer. So, I mean, Wayne knows. Beautiful.
I would definitely say, because I don't want to say I'm anti-flyer, because you're right, Alyson. You need to have all the information. You need everyone to know exactly what's going on. Do you know what I mean? But I do feel that sometimes flyers get lost in the ether. So I think it's really important to add like additional media, whether that be a photo of yourself or a reel or et cetera, to grab people's attention more, because like words just kind of like when people are scrolling, they just kind of like, you know, it goes over them. And so I think it's important to do both, but definitely having a visual aspect is vital.
I strongly go for video flyers only because I feel like that's the only way you're going to draw people in. And it gives me a nice challenge to get creative for that like day or that week to like try to figure that out, how to encapsulate the show within a video flyer. Yeah.
Give yourself the time to promote. Give yourself a couple weeks before your event to promote. The Instagram platform is not forgiving. Your stuff is there one day and gone the next. Please always post on your stories. Make sure you do like 2 posts a week. Video, like all of it. But make sure we get the information. Make sure you post the date. Just like, I mean, it's common sense, but some people just forget, you know, it happens.
And I think also definitely don't be afraid to be, you know, annoying, you know, like mildly annoying, you know, as a musician. We have to get our shows out there. We want people to come. So it's always important to consistently post, you know, the stories, flyers, additional media, what everyone said here, and, you know, just annoy people out of it in a way.
Because
Yeah,
people
you have
can't
to.
people can't teleport out of their bedroom when they see your post like an hour before your show is on. You know what I mean? So you have to like do stuff to advertise ahead of time and whatever that may be. Like give people time and a few chances to see what's going on.
Also, remember that most of the time, how you get paid is really dependent on who shows up to your gigs. If you're getting paid from the door, you know, that's how many people show up to. If you're getting paid from a percentage of the bar, it depends on how many people show up to your gigs. Make sure you promote your gigs. Make sure you're posting a couple times a day, a few times a week. Yeah, you're right. Even if it is annoying, it's necessary because that's our bread and butter, baby. Like, you got to get paid.
And it's us versus the algorithm, right? And the algorithm hates all of us. And it sucks, you know, that's the day and age we live in, is like it's always constant battle for attention, right? Screen time. But these kind of advice, these tips and tricks help you break through. And, you know, for me, like, yeah, I never post a flyer straight up. It's always has to be, video or like, you know, I don't know, something really nice and eye-catching up front. But, you know, with streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music paying musicians fractions of a penny per stream, musicians are forced to find different avenues to make their income. So I wanted to reach out to y'all. What are some ways you have made steady income through your music?
Before we get to that, I think we have a question from an audience member. So let's do that real quick.
Absolutely.
Sorry, my name's Josh. On the marketing aspect of things, when I'm sure you guys have all seen this, everybody, when you post something on Instagram or wherever and you get all these comments that are like, promote it on this or DM me here, like, let me help you with marketing and stuff. Have any of you guys utilized that type of assistance?
Most of the time it's spam.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
Most of the
right.
time
That's
it's
what I
spam,
think.
yeah.
I've never
Bots,
actually done
all
that.
that stuff. You know, don't pay attention to those.
Okay,
You'll know it's a real person when you know.
And I would assume that you would want somebody who's in your corner and knows your music and knows your style to help market you specifically. And why would you trust some random person?
And it doesn't
to do
hurt,
that?
Josh, to reach out to those people specifically, like your friends, the venue, people you know who want to come see you, your family, etc. And like, they are a lot of times willing to post or at least share their story. You know what I mean? And physical flyers or physical promotions also help a lot in spaces that allow you to put up posters and stuff like that. But yeah, utilizing the people around you who are also willing to promote you is great.
Yep.
You know what I like to do actually is like I'll just respond with an emoji or something, because like it helps the algorithm. Like the more comments, the more replies.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it does. So use it, you know, and be like, oh yeah, sure, like troll them.
Thanks, babe.
Use it, you know. You gotta find it somehow. Okay, but yes, going off of making income, what kind of approach do you do to actually make money off of your music?
Licensing, like I feel that's the only way I've ever made decent money for my music. Like I feel like everything else is almost like just a little bit of promo and a little bit of help. Luckily, I got on musicbed.com. That really helped me out a ton. And then also, luckily, my music is very cinematic, so I've been gathering directors that reach out to me directly, and that's the one-on-one exchange. It's no middleman is the best way to do it, but I highly recommend everyone looking into licensing.
The money's definitely in the licensing at this point in time. Seriously, like, because Spotify only pays you like a less than a cent per your streams. I have an EP that I released on Spotify in 2017, and I have like $300 just sitting in the bank, just collecting off of that EP. And I would honestly say just diversify your talents. I DJ, I sing. Sometimes I do weddings and I sing during the reception and I DJ. I mean, I sing during the cocktail hour and I DJ the reception. I host karaoke and I also write original songs for people during the holidays and on Valentine's Day. So it's just one of those things where you just got to diversify.
And the best advice I ever got was that in a lot of careers, people think like you graduate from the thing you did, like high school or college or some training thing that you do, and then you go and you get a job and that's like a house. Nobody in music gets that thing. We have to build that thing, right? We have to just keep laying down bricks. And like sometimes like it just feels like there's piles of bricks everywhere, but they don't feel like anything. But I swear to God, at some point you look up and you're like, damn, that's a wall. Yeah. And then you got two walls and they meet. And every once in a while something happens in your life where like a whole room shows up. But like mostly, you just got to keep laying down those bricks, and some of them end up in the wrong spot. But like the more bricks you have, the more it starts to look like a house. And the other thing I'd say is when we're talking about licensing, that can feel like, what even is that, and how do I get into that, and all that kind of stuff. The number one thing I'd say is like, you never know how the long tail of that kind of stuff is going to work. I have a track that I worked on 22 years ago in Vermont, and luckily the artist manager gave me a choice of like, do you want $1,000 up front, or do you want 4% of this track? And I took 4% of the track, and that was literally nothing for a long time. And then it got used by ESPN for a football documentary.
That's awesome.
And don't get me wrong, it's not that much money because it's 4%. But I felt it. Like it was like, okay, that. So like, when it is much harder to say I want to own a piece of something than it is to just be like, I want beer money for this weekend. But the more you can own a piece of something, the more likely it is that it can be synced or it can be used in other ways. And so.
Yeah, there's no big break. You have to keep working at it. And that's what I wish I would have known when I started, is like, there's no big break. You have to continue to work and hone your craft and get better and better, and don't stop. The minute you stop, the minute you give up is the minute that you won't reap any of the benefits from all of your hard work. So like, just don't stop, just continue.
All right, well, we have another audience question.
Hey, thank you. My name is Dre. Nice to meet you guys. So I don't want to come off as kind of like corporate or whatever, but when you first started, you're obviously wearing all the hats: marketing, talent, getting out there, transportation. You're your own groupie, right? Carrying all your equipment everywhere. Do you ever really get to a point where you get to distribute the hats amongst others? Or has the journey really been you all the way through? And it never gets to the point where you're able to get support from others that want to be with you full time and start forming like a team-based effort where somebody handles the marketing, somebody else handles, apart from incorporating the services of third-party companies like the gentleman mentioned earlier.
I think eventually you definitely have to give trust in some people, which can be sort of difficult sometimes for creative people to give that kind of like power away. But I think, in my personal opinion, I think it's always good to make sure you have like the main hat on. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you never know when someone else is gonna change their fashion and decide they're wearing berets instead of top hats. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's good to like really put your trust in other people and utilize them when you can, and also just make sure that you are always prepared to take on whatever you need to help yourself.
Yeah, and I think also just making friends with people. Sometimes you might know a friend who knows a friend who knows a friend, and somehow you'll be on this panel. And I definitely like something like saying at like shows and stuff like that, talking to people. Always talking to people, always trying to make connections, because that's always so important. And again, like as Wayne said, keeping on that main hat. As long as you know your true self and everything, and you associate yourself with the right people, you will have trusting people to work with.
Yeah, the minute I can afford it, I'm doing it. The minute I can afford it, I want people wearing my branded hats and just getting them out there and helping me out with, because it does help, because it's stressful. It's stressful to have everything covered. So I mean, I'm doing it all myself right now, but the minute I can afford it, it's going down.
Hi, I'm Duo DMT. I had a quick question for y'all. So if y'all are already independent, the question is, should y'all stay independent? And I guess more so like we're doing things independently because we're making hip hop music and there's not a lot of resources for hip hop music. So should we continue to do this independently, or should we seek out someone to kind of help us move in that space?
I think definitely that's personally up to you. If you are working towards a label, then obviously you can go for that. But I think also being independent, that gives you a lot more venues or a lot more creativity in your process. So I think that's pretty much up to you.
Sign the deal that works best for you and your people. don't turn your back on your people, but stay independent until a really, really good deal comes along where you feel like you and your people will benefit and you can raise everybody up. That's the only reason I haven't signed anything yet.
Yeah, that's what I would say is there's a lot of like pay-to-play nonsense in this business. There's a lot of people who will say they're going to help you if you just give them a chunk of something. And most of them, like, look at who else they're representing. Have you heard of any of those people? Like most of the time the answer is no, right? And then sometimes you get screwed even when the deal is with people who do know what they're doing, right? There are people in this room who've had record deals that didn't go very well. I've never had a deal like that. I've always been I work in a different world, but I've been a little tiny piece of a few things where I got screwed enough to be like, yeah, this is a dirty business. So I think if you're lucky enough that a deal actually comes along that works, then yeah.
It's a dirty business and it's a predatory business. So just be careful. If somebody throws a contract your way and there's a lot of money involved, have a lawyer look at it and just make sure that you use your common sense and just don't stop working. That's the best that's the best advice I can give you that I will continue to give somebody is just continue working.
I have a lot of years behind me. I'm probably the oldest person in the room and the most fabulous, but no, let's not. But that's not going to carry me through. I put out 2 CDs. Then nobody buys CDs anymore, even in your cars. So I have a complication of how do you get this out? And I would like to make money, but my real consideration is I want my name in a what do you call it? Not a jigsaw puzzle. What's a crossword puzzle? Yes. If I saw my name in a crossword puzzle, I'd say, I made it. Meanwhile, I've done a lot of things. I'm a lesbian from New York. I've been a teacher, go-go dancer. I've driven cabs. I've worked as a waitress. And all that stuff gets stuck in your shoe. Let it, because it has good stuff in it. And then bring it up to your belt, and then bring it up to your head. And it's in there. It's like every word that I have put in to every one of my songs is me. And people say, is your music lesbian music? And I say, well, maybe. It depends who's... It depends on who's listening to it.
Send me your music. I want to play it on the radio. Send me your music. Or give me your CD. I'll get your CD. Yeah. I'll play your music on the radio and I'll promote it. Thank you.
That's what it's all about. Music business.
Yeah, give me that. Thank you. I appreciate that. There we go. Stay tuned, KRTU on Tuesday. Yes, after this, I'm hosting karaoke at Bombay Bicycle Club at 8:30, so you can hear her singing. Yeah, for real. This is going to be on Queer Vibes next Tuesday. So
let's go.
But how many people in this room have like physical product in a cardboard box in your closet or your garage, right? Like
that's where it ends up.
Yeah,
because of the internet.
Right.
That's where it ends up.
My
Yeah.
band, we were like, we're gonna do vinyl, and we did, and it's good, and the cover's great, and we sold it. We sold like 22, and we gave away 50. There's still a couple more boxes in the closet, man.
That's what the music's made. The money from the music is made on tour, selling the vinyl and the T-shirts.
Exactly.
So that's what you need it for.
Yeah.
With that stuff, it's currency. I go into a place, I'm going to order a pizza. Okay, do you want me to give you a money tip, or would you like one of my CDs?
There you go.
CDs every time.
There you go.
Be resourceful. I love it.
And I think having limited copies, right? Stuff that does run out, I want to produce some vinyls too with my band, but maybe like 10.
Vinyl is expensive.
Yeah.
Vinyl's very expensive. I didn't know that. Yeah.
All right. Well, kind of switching the conversation a little bit. Let's talk about intellectual property. Has anyone ever experienced having their music copied or stolen by someone else?
I accidentally ghost wrote a song, and I didn't know that they were gonna license it for like 10 times more than what I got. So don't do that. Don't ever ghostwrite anything.
Good advice.
I said, did you sign anything? Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, I orchestrated somebody else's opera in the 90s, but I got a little chunk of the. I signed I got like 10% of publishing, and that's been okay. So it's okay to do work for hire, but you want to really think about if there's any way to get a piece of the intellectual property rather than just getting a fee for service. That's so much better. It's hard to do. A lot of times people are just going to be like,
people don't want to pay you.
Yeah.
They don't want to. But if you just make sure what you're signing says that you're going to be getting paid in the future, then just CYA, cover your ass.
And how do y'all deal with parallel thoughts, like two bands having similar sounds, ideas, lyrics, thoughts at the same time? Has that ever happened to any one of y'all?
Why don't you just book yourself on the same set with that other band, and then everybody that likes the same type of music will show up.
Let them choose.
let the people choose.
That's good advice.
All right,
yeah,
we
I
have
mean,
another-
don't fight it. Don't fight it. If there's a vibe there, people want to come see it. Book it.
Yeah, definitely. I want to be friends with them. If they're having the same thoughts and stuff like that, I want to jam with them. You know what I'm saying?
And how do you guys keep ideas fresh and original in a time where it seems like everything's just being copied?
I think you really have to pay attention to your life around you, you know what I mean? And constantly be drawing inspiration from your own experiences, because no matter how similar a situation you might be in to someone else, it's your life, no one else's, you know what I mean? And so even sometimes when there may be a similar sound or a kind of a similar thought or whatever, no one can say something the way that you can. And so it's important to really be connected to yourself and be taking in every moment that's around you to help build the next piece of work.
Yeah, we were talking about this with somebody earlier. The hardest part is just showing up to the drawing board. Just show up and write, and just do the best you can, and just put it out there, and just be yourself and be honest, and just write your truth.
One thing that helps me out is just changing the way I make my music. So I learned FL Studio, and then ran out ideas through there, then jumped into Ableton Live, and then I was traveling a lot, so I got into making music on an iPad, and it was really frustrating at first, being very limited. But I feel like limitations really make you grow and make you think differently. So every couple years, I just destroy everything I've learned and start from scratch, sound like an amateur every 5 years, and that's really helped me grow.
So what do y'all think about programs that can compose music for you in AI?
I think it's weird, but I mean, if you're not AI, if you're not writing it, then it's not yours, But I mean, just I wouldn't. It's not for me. Yeah.
Well, I've honestly just started diving into that, and what you really do is you need to harness your own sound, and I'm training a model on my music, so you don't have to use other people's. Just this whole AI thing sounds scary, but at the end of the day, if you use it as a tool, just like we use everything else, you can, I honestly say, harness it and make it your own. So I'm actually kind of going crazy trying to figure out how to do this, but it's a lot of it's free. It's open source. It's beautiful. So yeah, right now I'm currently training my own on my catalog of music, so then I could have it make more of my music for me, and then I treat it as samples.
And people have been using open source stuff for years, so that's
Yeah.
not anything new. Do you know what I mean? And it's really what you build upon it and what you use it for that really helps. And also, it's not going anywhere, baby. So
Yeah, you gotta
get
learn
with
how to
it.
work with it. I'm more curious to understand how that works. Like you input your music and then it spits back stuff that sounds like your music. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and then you still are the person making choices at the end of that process, right? Like you could choose to just take whatever it gives you, or you can like loop it or edit it. Or
Yeah, and it sounds really bad right now, and I kind of like that. It's like it's literally hallucinating, and so it's making these amazing bad choices and just sounding really raunchy and just all over the place. And but there's beauty in that. I think in about 3 to 5 years it's going to be like pristine, like beautiful, and you can just copy anyone's stuff. But yeah, try to make it your own sooner than later, because it's not going anywhere. It's only getting smarter and smarter.
We have 2 more audience questions.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Hi, my name's Chris. I go by I'm Trying for my solo stuff. I wanted to ask, actually, going back to the ghostwriting thing, I've ghostwritten like lyrics for people, and I usually will do little tiny contracts or for distribution or something like that, to where I always get a piece of it. But I was curious because I work with a lot of artists that are also usually not that big, or not, they're smaller in size, and that's fine. And I still write a contract for it. I don't care, because I'm just in case, you never know. But I've had people come to me in the past or recently say like, oh, well, I'm not making that much off of it. Why are you writing a contract? So I wanted to know y'all's opinions on that. And like how you feel about that. Like, is it always write a contract, or if this person's like 3 monthly
Always write the
listeners?
contract.
Yeah.
CYA, always write that contract.
Yeah, because when that song gets picked up for, season 17 of White Lotus or whatever, like, you want to be able to call your old friend and go like, hey.
Yeah, you never know. Just make sure you have it in writing, and don't be afraid to discuss about the money. It's not tacky. It's just business, and you're doing what's good for you.
And if they're going to try and intimidate you to not bringing that up or whatever, that might not be someone you want to be working with.
Well, thank you again for taking another question. On the topic of similar sounding music, how close have any of you guys gotten to being chased after by some entity for infringing on potentially something that's already out there?
People don't sue you unless you have money. So, like, you could release a song that sounds exactly like a Marvin Gaye groove, for example. It's not until it's a ubiquitous hit that the estate comes after you. So, like, just keep being unsuccessful and you'll be fine. That's been my plan my whole career.
One time, I've been flagged on Facebook Live for playing copyrighted music, but I was playing originals, which I thought was strange. But I was like, maybe it's like a sample that I'm using or something that sounds like something else. That's only happened to me once. So, yeah.
Circling back to the play with artists that sound like you, what is your opinion on when these bigger bands like artists like Yngwie Malmsteen do buy-ons for local bands to open for their tour?
That's necessary. You're always gonna when you're touring, they always want to book local support, and so they're always gonna book some like 2 bands to open for you. That's gonna draw more of a local crowd, and then people that also come to see you.
But what do you mean by just pile-on, though?
Buy-ons.
Buy-ons. Oh, okay. But buy-ons where you're the local person supporting someone?
Are you talking about you having to pay to open for somebody? I wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, unless it's Gaga reaching out, even then I'm like, girl.
Unless it's for Celine Dion, and I gotta pay like $1,000 to open up for Celine Dion, but that's never gonna happen.
But that does happen in some venues here in town, and just in general, and that's kind of the way that either some bands make their money or some venues make their money. But again, like if it's not something you are comfortable with, and I just say don't do it.
Yeah, I personally have never been asked to pay to play, but yeah, that's just. But I know that it happens in other cities, like in bigger cities. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There was like one festival that one of my previous bands I played in. And it was the pay to play, and it was like, oh, you have to sell these amount of tickets, or we're gonna take your money, or something like that.
What festival was it?
I think it was Bridging the Music. I think that was what it was called. And then like we did play at like the side room, and everything was cool. But like most of it, we had to pay out of our own
There
pocket.
have been some events that I have played where I've had to sell tickets and I got a percentage of the tickets. Then there was a cap on the tickets. But I think that was just a situation where I wanted to make my money and just sell my tickets, and it was fair. I considered it fair, and if I didn't think it was fair, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I just want to touch in on that because you said bridging the music. So we actually paid to play at Paper Tiger, and that was like a big deal for us because it was Paper Tiger. But in those situations, do you feel it's best to pay to play if you are starting to come up and it's starting to feel like we need to, have more of a presence? So, if we're doing our first show at Paper Tiger, it's kind of a big deal, So
For sure, definitely. I think what's more important, than it's free to make friends. And, it's free to talk to people and stay after shows and do all that stuff. And me and my band Noha, we've played at Paper Tiger. We're about to open for a touring band called Archero, and it was just about emailing, a lot of talking to people, and making connections in general. So if you do think that it is worth it, and that you think you can make the money back, of course, I think definitely I say go for it. But I think just talking to people and making connections and wanting to be friends, not being hey, just making friends and all that stuff, I think is more important.
And there are plenty of opportunities and big venues in town, and lots of venues where you can get an even better audience. And no shade to Paper Tiger, but there are plenty of venues in town. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that was a band-specific situation or a paper-specific situation, but definitely don't feel like if one venue is the end-all, be-all to a situation. Do you know what I'm saying? There's lots of opportunities, and as Keanu was saying, there's plenty of resources and people to get to know that will put you on an even better show.
Yeah, personally, this is just from my point of view. If alcohol's being sold and tickets are being sold, somebody's getting paid. Okay. Why can't it be you? I wouldn't, but that's just me thinking. I don't know if I would have done it even back then if I could afford to. I probably still wouldn't. And I've done gigs where I opened up for national acts, and the owner of the venue, when the venue isn't even around anymore, was like, "Oh yeah, you're doing it for exposure." So it's one of those situations where, like I said, the music industry is predatory. So just be careful.
I want to elaborate on that. My name is Chris, by the way. I go by Young Cyrus, part of INS Music. So I just started promoting concerts. We did a concert in our hometown with it wasn't a big artist. We brought the radio station from Houston. I've been working with them for about 4 months now. So building a trust with the radio station is kind of hard because even as artists, our dream is to be in a radio station. Our dream is to have our stuff played in one of the biggest radio stations like San Antonio 90.5 The Beat for hip hop artists. So as going into doing something like this, from being an artist to doing your home promotion, we do everything as promoting the show, as they were talking about the flyers and stuff like that. But it doesn't seem wrong when you have a lot of people trying to chase the same dream, but yet it's really hard to want to put on a show of your own. So a lot of people really go after the shows that people who ask money for because it's a big artist. You got a Texas artist. We're talking about Texas artists here, in the hip hop industry. So it's really hard. But when we pay, because me and we paid so many shows to be a part of, and it just didn't seem right at the time. But at the end of the day, we felt like our money was well spent. We always had tickets to sell at the end of the day. Sometimes we didn't get a lot of people would show up. Sometimes we did. But at the end of the day, it just really felt right, to be a part of a venue that's really big. You don't get to see every day. You don't get to be a part of it every day. But when you're people like with Duo and us as duo groups, and we got everybody in our town trying to do the same thing, we come together for the community, and we do things for the community and for ourselves as artists. We want to bring hip-hop back from where it used to be, not the way it is now. Internet has taken over so much right now, and we're trying to be a part of everything as it's growing, right? So when I'm doing promotions and stuff like that now, all I ask is from the artist to do what you can. It's hard because I have to come out of pocket to pay for headliners and to pay for the venues if they ask. Most of the time, the venues don't even ask for money up front. They said, you know what? Let's see what we can make at the door. And, we'll give you the venue up free just because, you're guaranteed to bring this many people in. It's never a guarantee. You got to go out there. You got to put the work in. We go out early in the morning. We hand out flyers. We do things 2 or 3 months prior in advance. So promotion is everything. But when it comes to paying for stuff like that, I think it comes down to, at the end of the night, how you really feel about it. Do you feel like you got screwed in the end? Do you feel like your money was well spent? you know, to me, at the end of the day, it's a headache because, you know, as a promoter, you're running around the show all day, making sure everybody's taken care of. People are giving you their music at the last minute. You know, you got people bringing in a USB drive and you can't put the music on a laptop. It comes with a lot at the end of the day. It really is a lot. But to me, as promoting music now, from being an artist to going promoting my own stuff, and like how you were saying, kind of play that factor of having just one kind of hustle, you know, when it comes to putting out your music. So I think, honestly, paying for artists like Bone Thugs and Harmony for Busy Bone, we got that show coming up this Saturday, actually. And we
but you're speaking of you paying for the artist,
right?
Or are you speaking of a performer paying to play there?
Actually, both. Actually, both is what I'm speaking on, because it's really hard to, like, hey, you know, let's pay $400 to open up for this guy. Well, technically, I've listened to this guy my whole life. I grew up listening to these kind of rappers. Never thought in a million years I'd be in the same room with them, shaking hands with them, taking pictures with them, and having him listen to my music on stage. Never thought that would happen in a million years. To have that, I think it's worth the $400. I think so.
So basically, you're having the performers pay for the national act.
And it's only usually because when we ask for someone to, like, hey, you know, whatever you have, you can, you know, put in. It really helps us as the promoter, because we're having to pay for people to come in, like.
And I hear you, and I think that that's necessary, but I also think it depends on where you are in your music career,
for sure.
whether you're willing to pay or not. I personally am not. But I feel like if you have somebody that's willing to come up and play for a big crowd, open up for Bone Thugs, then if they want to do that,
I agree with
that's
that.
on them.
And
but yeah, that's just
we're having to make sacrifices, but at the end of the day, I think it's worth it. And you know, we have a 2024 coming up tour, and we're doing with the radio station from Houston, 97.9 The Box. So we've come a long way. And for the artists that are just coming up, we want to bring them along with us. We want to share that youth. We want to give back to the people who are like, oh, you know, it's hard for us to get into the radio stations. Well, my door's open, so let me bring you in with me. That's the kind of vibe that I want to bring to local artists as I'm, you know, going on my journey as an artist myself. So if I can open those doors for me and Iconic for INS Music, I want to do the same for other local artists. That's why I started promoting music.
Right on. Thank you for sharing. We're kind of running out of time. We'll touch on a few more topics. Let's talk about distribution. There's plenty of online music distributors like DistroKid, TuneCore, CD Baby. And there's also websites like Bandcamp that allows musicians to directly support the artists they love. How do y'all distribute your music? What's your preference?
I use DistroKid because it's the easiest for me. It has been the cheapest for me, and you know it's gotten me, you know, through all those platforms and everything without, you know, much hassle. So
I'm a TuneCore girl.
I use DistroKid, but I have heard that CD Baby prints the CDs for you, which is tight. And DistroKid, again, the price point's not bad, and it's just easy to click and post everything you want on different online platforms. Yeah.
Yeah, my bands, that last album we did CD Baby because we were doing physical, but also because we were trying to get some video sync stuff where they handle more rights, and so.
And Diego, you do a lot of distributing, so what are your thoughts?
I think it's DistroKid. On my last album, I had it through a record label, so I'm unclear about what they used, but usually on my personal music is DistroKid. Yeah.
GarageBand is really good. I mean, not GarageBand.
I love GarageBand.
I like GarageBand's great. No, Bandcamp's good because you do get all your money though. You don't have to rely on those like cents on the dollar from various streaming platforms. So I mean, yeah.
And merch, my God, stickers.
The merch.
Stickers on Bandcamp, baby.
You can sell your merch.
Speaking of merch, what's been successful for y'all? What are y'all selling? What are you
Stickers.
Yeah.
One time I did a gig in Marfa and all my socks sold. I screen printed. I screen printed my own socks and nobody wanted the shirts. They wanted all the socks. So I made my money on socks.
That's awesome.
Which was interesting.
You know, make a thong. You know what I mean? But I don't know. If you come up with a good logo, you know, I mean, I think I sold about 2,500 shirts with my face on them over the years, and so. I mean, I don't know if that's a big number or a small number. Yeah, so, you know, you just throw that everywhere. But if you make a good product, yeah, you know, it just depends on what you throw it on. But unique things like temporary tattoos or like Alyson was saying, socks and stuff, people really love unique items like that, 100%.
Yeah, and definitely also having like a diverse merch designs as well. You know, you can either have like something that's really simple because, you know, if you go to all like these malls and all these stores, they just have something that's probably like in the corner, or it's just like a little like logo and it's like really simple and you can read it. And I think that's really important for a person. Or either that, you can go the complex route, you know, have a really, really nice, awesome like art on the shirt as well. So there's definitely like having diversity in designs is also pretty awesome.
And even going straight off your website, just I'm working on selling prints, you know, just through Squarespace, you know, just direct. And Bandcamp, I really like. What's it called? The Bandcamp. Like every month they do it. Like
Bandcamp Fridays.
Yeah, Bandcamp Fridays. Yeah. So I highly recommend that. Yeah, and anything physical because true fans want something.
They want that limited edition too.
Yeah,
They want those like 1 of 10 runs. There's like 1 of 35. So just make sure that it's unique to you, and your fans will come in groves and want that.
Yeah, definitely. And if you have like, say, like you only have like 100 people or something like that following you, or maybe even like 50 people or that, you know, and you sell like $20 a shirt or something like that, or stickers, you know, it's still money, and it can add up and all that stuff. So,
all right, in these last couple minutes, what's wrong with our San Antonio music scene, and how can we improve it?
The shade.
The shade of it all.
Let's get a little controversial, spice things up a bit.
I think right now, to be a working musician in San Antonio and to get, other than you have major success online. A lot of people have to tour. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think you do have to put a lot more work in and tour to get known in other cities. Like I think it's to combine what you do and, you know, promote online and get more people. Like you can say, oh, I'm touring, I'm going to be in your city. You have the followers to do that. I think you to be like majorly successful and like $1 million, having your music in movies, you got to tour from San Antonio.
oh no, yeah, definitely. Just like one thing that I wish I had done with like my solo career is that, you know, I wish I had formed like, you know, I guess like that backing band, I guess, you know, to like tour, but when like my virality was at the time, but you know.
And really having the confidence in yourself to do all those things and believing in what you're passionate about and not being afraid to, like I said at the beginning, you know, put yourself out there and really believe in yourself to put in that work to kind of expand your brand and expand yourself and network and talk to everyone around you, whether they be in the city or outside of it. And yeah.
If you feel delusional, you're doing it right. Just if you really believe in your product and to the point where you feel crazy, then you're doing it right. Just keep going.
All right, I'm sorry, we're just about out of time and we can't take any more questions. But my last question for y'all is, before we go today, what sort of advice could you give to new up-and-coming musicians trying to pursue a career in the music industry? Where do they start?
I think just learning to be vulnerable. Because again, as a musician, you're already being vulnerable. You have to do the same thing as a content creator, as a promoter, all that stuff. You know, you have to, if you want to get to a place of, you know, if you want to find success, you know, you're gonna have times where you're cringy, you're gonna have times where you're embarrassing, and it's important that you go through those moments. And definitely, just once you understand that, you know, I think it becomes easier and easier to, you know, promote yourself and all that stuff.
Relationships and people are more important than product most of the time. Like in the long run, the product has to be good, but like in the long run, the relationships and the people, like you show up for each other so like, don't be afraid to just tell your friends who don't care about music about your music, but also like support your friends who are in music, give your music away. Like the key moment in the last 10 years for me was I booked a show where we had 12 bands with one of the YOSA Classic Albums live shows, and somebody who was an associate came up to me and said, "Why didn't you book me for this show?" And I literally said, "I've never heard a note of your music. Like, why didn't you send me your music?"
Also, don't be rude to people, okay? Honestly, walking up to someone saying, "Why did you put me on the show?" That is so rude and negative. Like,
because you have an attitude.
People will not want to work with you or book you for shows. But I'll just speak to the stage aspect to it. I will, in the performance aspect, I'll say, like, when someone's starting out, you know, even if you're in your beginning stages, really perform when you're on stage. And don't question yourself. Don't question the audience. Don't even, like, that kind of question. Don't bully your audience or the people that are there. You know, really just live in your art and do it proudly.
Don't be afraid to leave your house. Don't be afraid to leave your house. I was making music alone in my room for 2 years before I started doing gigs and playing out in public. And I really, I wish I would have done it sooner. Just get out there, go to open mic night, meet people, network, come to stuff like this, and just don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone. And the minute you get comfortable, and the minute you get complacent, and the minute you stop working is when you can say, oh, I failed. I don't want to do this anymore. Just don't be afraid to leave your house.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on embracing failure leads to innovation. Bombing is a good thing. You learn every time it gets awkward. Embrace the awkwardness because it's gonna come off, and that's growth. That's embracing growth. So yeah.
And also, if you're an artist, don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to DM on Instagram. Don't be afraid to email. You want to get out there. You also make sure to also have an EPK or something like that details all your music, all your details, all that stuff like that.
All right, can we give a huge round of applause to our incredible panelists?